METARs and TAFs. Okay, so what are METARs and TAFs? Why are we talking about them? So these are your aviation weather reporting system. Forecast reports, METARs and TAFs. METARs reports, TAFs forecast. What up, dog? Okay, I haven't been on the camera in a while, so I'm kind of just playing with the playing with the camera a little bit. Anyway, so METARs and TAFs. Why do we need to know METARs and TAFs? Well, in aviation, you need to know METARs and TAFs because that is what is literally reported to you as a pilot sitting in your cockpit. However, in drones, you don't really need to know your METARs and TAFs, although all the DFEs are gonna hate me for saying this, but you don't. The only reason you need to know your METARs and TAFs is because all the skills tests, all the DFEs, and CAA as well have decided that we need to know how to decode these METARs and TAFs. Before we go into decoding them and trying to understand that, like solve the puzzle, that is METARs, and then the even worse puzzle or more long-winded puzzle that is TAFs, let's first focus on what these things are. So a METAR stands for your meteorological aerodrome report. Okay, notice the word meteorological firstly means weather. Of course, meteorology is the study of weather. Aerodrome is the next most important word. Actually, I guess all three of the words are very important. Aerodrome is telling us that it is something that we will find reported from at aerodromes. Okay, so aerodromes are the ones to release these. Aerodromes are basically just your airports or places like that. The report side of things is telling us that this is telling us conditions that are currently happening. Okay, a report is something that is currently happening now. A forecast, which is coming up later, is completely different. Weather report that will come from an aerodrome, and it is about weather conditions now. Then the next one is your TAFs. A TAF stands for your terminal aerodrome forecast, and this is something that you might find at your bigger aerodromes. Okay, bigger aerodromes will always have TAFs. Smaller aerodromes will sometimes have TAFs, and all aerodromes generally will have METARs. A TAF is kind of structured very similarly to a METAR. The only difference is that a TAF is talking about potential future conditions. It's forecasting for a much longer time period, and it's therefore breaking the TAF up into actual individual pieces of time, so that to say from this time to this time, weather conditions are this, then this time to this time, so on, so forth. That is a TAF. Okay, terminal aerodrome forecast kind of gives it away. Terminal aerodrome, big aerodromes, and forecast. These aerodromes, the bigger aerodromes, will release the forecast on whatever platform for us to find and use. Which brings me to the next point. The next point is where? Where do we find METARs and TAFs? Well, guys, you can find METARs and TAFs in quite a few places. I'm not going to sit here and show you all the heck of places that you can find a METAR and TAF. I'm just going to show you one place, and that is a place called Windy. Windy.com or the Windy app. You get either or, a website or an app that you can download on your phone. Anyways, let me share my screen, open up Windy, and let's get to it. I do not have internet on my computer for some reason, so I have found a recording software on here. So we are going to go in and find, you are just seeing all of my apps. Let's go, where is it? Drones, there it is. So we go drones, we go through over to Windy. Okay, I was going to show you windy.com. This is the Windy app. It's pretty much the same thing. The only difference is that windy.com will allow you to use it for free, whereas the Windy app has a pressure behind us. They're constantly saying stuff like that. Subscribe to Windy Premium and get access, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so just be aware of that. For us in drones, at least, the idea is that you find the aerodrome that is nearest to where you are flying, because you're never really going to fly in an aerodrome. If you are flying in an aerodrome's airspace, of course, you're going to get the METAR and TAF for that aerodrome. Usually, you're going to be flying quite far out, 10 kilometers outside from any aerodrome. And in that case, you're just going to take the METAR and TAF from the nearest aerodrome. That's the idea behind this. First thing you do, you find your nearest aerodrome. You do that on aeronautical chart, whatever you need to do. And then you come here, you put that aerodrome in here. So let's say that, no, let's not do ORTAM. I'm comfortable bored of it. Let's put FAWK. Let's go to Waterkloof. Air Force Base. Okay, so let's check it out and see if they have our METARs and TAFs for us. Okay, cool. They do have. That's how you find your METARs and TAFs. Okay, so you come here, you find METAR, but you'll also notice to your far right that there is NOTAMs up here. Okay, so now you can also find your NOTAMs. Bear in mind that there is also a little thing there that says raw mode. Look what happens if you press it, because METARs and TAFs, you can always have it, you should always be able to read it in this format. But if I press this raw mode, it decodes it for me and it tells me what all of it is. And then you go onto your NOTAMs and it does the exact same thing. METARs, what that means there, all those lines just means that those are null and void. So nothing's happening regarding those sorts of certain weather phenomena that would normally take up those spots. In this case, it looks like there were no clouds. That's the trick to finding your METARs and your TAFs. You just come to Windy or windy.com. You do what you need to do. Raw mode, decode mode, all of that stuff. Okay, guys, please also bear in mind that when you are searching, make sure that whatever you choose has the airplane signal symbol next to it. That is literally the only symbol that you can click on it, and that will take you to a place that has METARs and TAFs. Now let's go into actually decoding it. That Vata clue of 1 actually ended up being pretty boring. So let's see if we can find a more full METAR for us to use. Perfect. This has everything that we need. Firstly, you'll notice that there are a few. This is how, for all the students that have been in class with me recently, this is our time intervals. Okay, so you'll notice that our METAR intervals are 1 hour apart. TAF we've got, yes, perfect. TAF, we've got enough of a TAF as well. Let's go to the most recent METAR, because of course that's the one we would normally use. Now the first thing there says the first thing actually says VFR. Just if you want to know that means visual flight rules. It means that visual flight rules pilots have the ability to fly there currently because the weather is good enough. Your visual meteorological conditions are good enough that visual flight rules pilots, in other words, pilots that need to use their eyes to look around, are able to do that in these conditions at this location. VFR tells us, yes, if I am a VFR pilot, I can fly there. FALA says, of course, it's from Lanseria. FA is just ICAO's designation code for South African airspace. Internationally, in aviation, people will see FA, and I understand that is South Africa. The next little line over there is your date and time. Okay, so 18 is saying the 18th of the month, because we don't need to know what month it is. This is literally our interval at 1500. So at 3 o'clock Zulu time, that Z there means Zulu time. Zulu time means UTC time, which means we are +2. So you just go back 2. So 3 o'clock Zulu would be 5 o'clock here in South Africa. We are Bravo time, so it's Zulu, Alpha, Bravo, so on and so forth. Then you go to your wind in the next section here. So the first 3 digits are your direction of wind. So this is a 320 degree wind. What this is telling us is not the direction into which the wind is blowing. It is the direction from where the wind is coming. Okay, so 320 degree wind means that the wind is coming from 320 degrees and blowing towards the opposite way. Okay, right. And then the next one, the 04, those 2 digits there are for the speed, wind speed. So 04 KT means that this is 4 knot winds traveling from a direction of 320 degrees. If you go to the next one there, you'll notice it then says 220V030. What that means is that it's still wind, it's still talking about wind. But what that means specifically is that, yes, the wind is majorly going to be coming from 320 degrees. However, it can vary also between 220 and 030. And then the next one, this 9999, this, my fellow students that I am currently teaching right now, you drone divas, this 9999 is what I was talking about in class. Because all the METARs we've seen in class have not been this. Because in aviation, perfect visibility conditions are considered to be 10,000 meters or 10 kilometers, okay? So this is supposed to be 10000, but it can only take 4 digits. So instead of doing 10,000, they put 9999, telling us, cool, perfect visibility. Okay, I can see a full 10 kilometers in front of me. Just notice Mr. Little Grayson over here quickly. The next thing is your clouds. Okay, so clouds, I'm not going to explain how they work. They work in octas, but right now all you need to know is that few cloud means there are, that word is actually exactly what it is. It is a few clouds. 045 represents the height of the clouds, okay? The height of the base of the clouds. So 045, what you do is you add 2 zeros at the end, and that gives you your feet. So 4,500 feet above us, altitude would be where the few cloud is now forming. If you want to know about octas and stuff like that, I'm sure I've got a video up, or I will have at some point. Just go and check it out. Then the next batch there is 26/4. 26 is talking about the maximum temperature of this time of METAR. So for this hour, 26 is the reported highest temperature, and 4 degrees is reported not lowest, but dew point temperature. Now, if you don't know what dew point temperature is, just a quick summary would be that at dew point temperature is when watery things occur. Mist, fog, rain, precipitation, more clouds, things like that, okay? So when your max temperature and your dew point temperature are close or the same, that's when you're going to experience fog, mist, haze, fog, mist, rain, things like that. Cool, then you move on to the next one, Q1023. This is just telling us the Q code. If you don't know Q codes, I most certainly have a video out at least in the next week about them, so go check it out. These aerodromes use a Q and H Q code, so we have to be able to use those Q codes, and all you do is you take that number, you put it into your telemetry, and your altimeter will measure your height above the Q and H of Lanseria. Once you do have understanding, that's where that comes from, okay? That's where you get your Q and H Q code. You literally get it from the aerodrome. You just pump it into your barometer and your altimeter. You just make your system work with that code there, and bob's your rock. And then no sig means there's no significant change. And the minus at the end, actually, I mean, maybe it could just be a minus. But what I more formally have seen is an equal sign. They'll put an equal sign at the end of the METAR, and that basically represents the end of the METAR. It's the same thing as a full stop at the end of a sentence. Okay, that's how you do your METARs. Now let's go into the freaking TAFs, dude. Okay, so we have an amended TAF here. Wow, that means that weather has changed. Or did I just say that before the actual interval for the new TAF arrived? Okay, so a TAF amendment is when the TAFs are only released in certain integers, same as METARs, but in this case, the TAF was released and it was going to be updated, maybe 10 hours later or whatever the case is, but instead weather changed too much that they had to amend their TAF. Okay, so that's when they release a TAF amendment, which will be kind of the official TAF, as you can see, up until the interval where the TAF can be updated again. Then the amendment will fall away and the TAF will just follow suit of what is currently happening and therefore predicted to happen going forward in the future. And that's what has happened here. We are seeing the amended TAF. So we have the amended FALA TAF. So this amended TAF was released on the 18th at 11:10 Zulu, and it is valid for the 18th of October from 12 to the 19th of October at 12. If you look at this, instead of trying to figure out the VRB, you rather look at the fact that it's talking about your wind, okay? And we know that we already have a varying system that we can see in the METARs about our wind. Now, TAFs can have the same thing. TAFs can also have 320 of 03 kT, varying 200 to 360. In this case, the wind is so varying that they can't necessarily define a direction from which the wind is coming. So instead they put VRB. Okay, just expect wind to blow you around a little bit. That's just what's gonna happen, okay? And then the 03 kT means not. So, okay, yeah, it might blow me around, but it's really not gonna at all. 3 knots is like, well, no, I wouldn't say it's nothing, but compared to manned aircraft, 3 knots doesn't do very much, okay? Then you go on to the next one, CAVO-K. CAVO-K stands for ceiling and visibility. Okay, that okay literally means okay. You can also think cloud and visibility okay. CAVO-K represents that there are 3 conditions that are currently being met by the weather. The first one that CAVO-K says is that we have 10,000 meters visibility. You'll notice that this TAFs do have visibility. They will have the 9999 or 9000. But the reason this one doesn't have it is because CAVO-K already settles that by saying visibility is okay. So that's the first condition, is that you have to have 10 kilometers visibility. The second condition of CAVO-K is that ceiling. The ceiling of a cloud is talking about the bottom of a cloud. So what this is saying is that the bottom of or any cloud currently in the sky around Lanseria Airport is at least at 5,000 feet above ground, Okay, so at least 5,000 feet out of the space of any visual flight rules pilots, and therefore you have CAV-OK conditions. That is the second one. You'll notice also that this TAF doesn't have the clouds where normally it would, and that's again because CAV-OK settles that. And the last thing that CAV-OK represents is that there are no thunderstorm clouds, Charlie Bravos, CBs, cumulonimbus. Okay, if all the other conditions are met, but there's just one cumulonimbus cloud nearby in the sky, that is not CAV-OK condition. And it looks like we might have that late. No, the CAV-OK actually stays for this whole TAF. But anyway, so we then go on to TX27. TX means maximum temperature. Okay, and then if you do ever get stuck, because even us instructors, we sometimes get stuck, we forget these things ourselves. This TX27 was, what I was gonna say is, I first want to try and decode it, but what I was going to say is if we do ever get stuck, we can just go to this raw mode, decoded mode, and we can just come here. So this is saying maximum temperature at 27 degrees. 27 degrees. Ah, that's right. Okay, I forgot that I should read that second half as well. And then it would make sense. I got stuck on this first part. So TX27 is telling me that my maximum temperature is going to be 27 degrees. And then that is going to occur on the 18th at 1300 Zulu. Tn is minimum temperature, so X is maximum, N represents minimum. Tn is minimum temperature is at 12 degrees, and that is going to be on the 19th at 3 Zulu, 3 in the morning. Okay, and that is how that works. And of course, if you ever do doubt yourself, just come back to the raw mode and come back down and make sure that you've got the right idea. Please note also, a very, very important thing you need to note is that this TAF, once you decode it, it decodes the time as well. It puts us into Bravo time. If we go to raw mode, you'll notice TX27 1813. Okay, so the 18th at 13 at 1 o'clock. If you go to the decoded version, you'll see at 15. Why? Because they've decoded the time as well. In other words, they've added that +2 from the Zulu time and they've turned it into Bravo time for us. Okay, so just be aware of that, because people often get caught out by DFEs because they think they can just do that. Then we move on to the next thing here. BEC-MG stands for becoming. It means the weather is then going to be becoming from the 18th at 1400 Zulu until the 18th at 1600 Zulu. You've then got 180 degree wind traveling at 8 knots, and then becoming from the 18th at 1700 Zulu, which is 1900 Bravo, to the 18th of 1920-21 Bravo. You again have variable wind traveling at 3 knots. Okay, that's how you do your TAF. All right, guys, if you find anything a little bit more complicated about METARs and TAFs and that wasn't, done in this video, please go ahead and hit me up in the comments or contact me on WhatsApp. Do what you gotta do, let me know, because I would love to make sure these videos are at the best that they can be. If you thought we were done, we are not done yet. This is just a little bit of an additional resource that you can use to help you with your METARs. This, what you see in front of you right now on the screen, is actually my Udemy course. You'll see that the minus, the negative is light, moderate means no qualifier, plus is heavy, so on and so forth. You can literally just use this resource to help you identify any other things that might be confusing you in METARs and TAFs. I'm not going to sit here and literally read out MI equals shallow, BC equals patches. Okay, just go and figure it out. If you don't know what it means, shallow, just go and check out on Google, search what do they mean by shallow. If you see something like, for example, BR in a METAR and you don't know what it means, if you don't have this resource, you still have Google. The biggest thing that a DFE looks for is how do you find information. Skills tests, places where you'd actually use METARs and TAFs, they don't want you to just know everything, they want you to understand it. So if you don't understand it, literally in the test, just go onto Google and quickly learn the skill that you need to know. Okay, a DFE is happy to sit there and wait for you to deliver the answers that you need to deliver. They are not happy for you to just guess. They're gonna fail you. This is the last thing I want to show about METARs and TAFs. And finally, I just want to say that yes, I do have a Udemy course out. Yes, you can go and find it if you want. The link is in the description below. For some reason, Udemy will not let me make a permanently discounted code, but what they will let me do is make discounts per person. So if you want to do this Udemy course, but you don't want to pay the full price, just hit me up and we can discuss a discount. But yeah, so if you want a discount, hit me up. Also, I'm on all other social media platforms. I've got 4 or 5 other different channels, YouTube channels as well: gaming, music, driving, vlogs, and stories. So 4 others, 5 in total. I will have more coming out. Go check them out, as well as my other social medias: TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitch, even. All of that stuff is down below. Patreon, if you want to be an awesome supporter and donate some cash, then that would be just absolutely fantastic. And I hope you enjoyed the video. I know it was a little bit long, but it was a full METARs and TAFs crash course, so we needed to get everything important into this video. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Peace out. I'll see you in the next video.